Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Live. Today is Saturday, October 25th. How are you doing? My name is Angela. I am a software engineer and front-end developer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We are all vanilla all the time here, not because we don't like frameworks and libraries, but just because we enjoy practicing the basics. And I can only speak from my own experience, but over the last 15 months since I started going live and basically coding in public, my CSS skills in particular are dramatically improved. My accessibility skills have improved, and I'm getting a little bit better at JavaScript, which is all I could ever ask for. Just a little bit better. What's the James Clear Atomic Habits? 1% better. I don't know on what scale I'm getting 1% better at, but I am getting incrementally 1% better. So, good morning, everybody. Malik Robinson is here. Monique Robinson is here. I was running a little late this morning, so I apologize for that. Sometimes you just have to give yourself a few extra minutes. That's all I can say. Terry Murray is here. Good morning, Terry Murray. Thank you for joining us. Malik and Monique are the mods in the chat. Make sure you say hello. Do me a favor. If you haven't liked this video yet, go ahead and do so. It helps push it out. It helps the algorithm, helps push it out to more people who might enjoy this type of content, and it helps me grow the channel. So there's that. All right, I have a big weekend planned for us today. Let's start with just like a brief recap of where we're at with this project. We are doing a clone of the nitpicks.com homepage. And so we'll just do a brief scroll through here so we can refresh our memories of what we're working with. Now, nitpicks.com is a huge e-commerce website. I am not building a back end for my clone. I am not even building any kind of e-commerce. I'm just building a landing page for a side project that I have called Fiber and Kraft. In my spare time, what little spare time I have, I love anything related to knitting, crocheting, spinning, dyeing, processing wool. I love all of it. So I'm cloning the Nitpicks homepage and making a landing page for my side project called Fiber and Kraft. Now, I did say from the very beginning that I reserve the right to make changes, improvements, if you will. I think that, we can, without disparaging the humans who worked hard on the nitpicks.com website, I think we can say that we've found some accessibility issues. We've found some ways where they could have maybe, perhaps, allegedly improved a few things on their site. But it's not a bad site at all. We've just made some observations and we made sure that we improved upon that in our version of the clone. I also made some just minor style changes. Like, for example, this section below the banner, we can see here that this is clearly off kilter. I think it has way too much space here. So what this says to me is that the person who did the front end work on this site didn't do this at a big enough screen. I'm on a 27-inch monitor. And for all the time that we spend working on responsive styles and making sure that we're mobile responsive, I think that large screens are completely overlooked. And this is a great example, right? Once we get down, I think, at about 2,000 pixels, this is okay. The spacing is all okay. But as soon as we're 100% on a 27-inch monitor, this layout kind of falls apart. So this should have been in a container, in my opinion. The other style change that I made is that I may let these two sections be the same width for continuity. Now, my squares here are a little bit bigger, but I don't mind that. I think it looks great. Also, I think you could probably notice, you can probably see that I updated the content and images yesterday. And I'm very proud to say that I did not use ChatGPT for any of the content. because I think content written by ChatGPT is so glaringly obvious. I would rather have content that is filled with mistakes or like maybe grammar or punctuation mistakes, just as a signal that I didn't use ChatGPT to write my content. Ooh, one moment, hold please. Yeah, and then I also, this is all original photography, as in, I just dug through my photo library and pulled out, I'm constantly snapping images of things that I'm working on. And I found almost all of these photos just in my own library of things that I had done over the years, but I also did take some fresh photos yesterday. So let's go through each of these sections. So I would just like to talk about how I decided that I was going to repurpose these sections. This is the other thing that this project sort of presented as a challenge, where I think normally I'm the type of developer who really relies on content first to build a design around the messaging. Now I was in a position where I was taking this layout that was already done for me, and I had to decide how my messaging fit into the layout. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer at all. I think that it is a skill that you should have to be able to do both, because I've worked at agencies who had strong opinions about the fact that they were design first, and then they had copywriters who specifically wrote content to fit the design. So that's a thing. That's an approach. And I do think that if you're going to be freelancing and helping your clients with content, taking that on, you need to be flexible to have both approaches. So this was a good exercise for me to sit and be very thoughtful about how I wanted to do that. And it all worked out. So I'm very pleased with what I came up with. I did add a header and a description to this section. Oh, it's also worth noting that I added content and images. I did not change markup, and I did not write any styles. So I have a mental list of a gazillion things that I want to change here, style wise and markup wise, and I didn't do any of it. I wanted to save all of it for the stream, for when I was recording, so we can kind of talk through that together and I can explain my rationale or what I'm thinking. But in general, this was an excellent exercise in how to organize my messaging for this project. So I added, I think we added this H2 last weekend. I also added a description just to sort of describe the section. That's what a description is. I probably didn't need to expand on that thought. These are my basically categories, and then just a little 1 or 2 sentences describing each category. I think I'm going to take out these links. It's not e-commerce. I don't really have anything to point to. I don't think we need links for this right now. So I feel good knowing that we have links styled when the time comes. But for now, at this stage, we don't need these links. So I am going to be removing these links. We have a lot of space here in between the sections. The other thing that we worked on last week was the scrolling navigation to each section, and I think at the very end of last Sunday's stream, we came up with a plan for how we were really going to dial that in with some precision, but we didn't quite get there yet, so there's a lot of space here. We're going to be fixing that. This section are just things from my own stash that I found, and I wanted to say, like, hey, this is like a favorite of mine. Let me tell you why I like it. The only content here I haven't finished is I need to put in a description here, and I need to figure out if there's going to be a call to action. What I could do is I could link each of these things to a place on the internet where you could go buy these, right? but I feel like I have a lot of links out for shopping or products. And I'm like, okay, is this just going to be a landing page of where to buy stuff? So I'm still kind of thinking about that. But I will, I think this evening, write just a couple little words here about what each of these yarns is. I didn't get that far. I also don't think that we need this shop category link because these aren't real products. So, but overall, I'm very, very happy with this section. And these pictures I took yesterday, in fact, these 5 pictures were the only pictures that I had to take for this site. So I took these yesterday afternoon, and then this is a new spinning project that I just started, and I took a couple versions of this picture, like a couple different angles. The first one didn't really work, so I put this one in, and I was like, oh shit, is this gonna work? Like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And then I put this in, and I was like, yes, we love this. This is an awesome picture. So this is just like my current spinning project. So featured, I think this is kind of perfect, like a perfect section for what I'm currently working on. And then I am linking to where somebody could buy this fiber if they want to. And here's what I mean by like a link section, by lots of links on places to buy stuff. This section right here, I literally just decided to make links to my favorite places to shop for yarn and fiber. I mean, why not? This is where I love to buy yarn and fiber. And who knows, maybe maybe another the last thing I need to do is enable another yarn buyer, but I think it's fun to see where everybody buys their yarn and fiber. So I thought this was the perfect section for that. This section, and we do need to do some styling here. This section are just a couple of, again, I love my Fiber and Kraft Instagram because I follow so many amazing creative fiber people, knitters, crocheters, dyers, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of my favorite. And so we're going to do some extra styling here. And the calls to action are pointing directly to their Instagram profiles. Again, I don't know if we need to keep this shop category here. I like knowing that I have this styled if I ever want to add that. I do have a link to my Instagram up here in the header. So there's already a call to action here for that. And then there's another call to action here. And again, I'm kind of skipping this section, but I'm not using a third-party API. I'm not using a Meta or an Instagram API to pull in a feed from my Instagram. I'm just not there yet. I don't have time to do that. I personally, if I was going to do this, I would set up an Express app so I could hide the API key, and I just don't have time to do that right now. So I just went through my own library of photos and pulled out images that I know I've posted on Instagram at some point. So this is static, but again, we do have a call to action here. Okay, so this is like the testimonials section, and I decided to call this, this is my pattern section. So I wanted to just keep this as like a featured pattern, the pattern that I really like, a pattern that I enjoy, and the first pattern I'm featuring, and we need to style this image too because I want this to be a square, and also this is kind of messy. I have a plan for this too. So again, I was just adding content. This is just a sock pattern that I use to learn how to knit socks, and I really love knitting socks. So I wanted to feature this pattern that I really, really enjoy. So that's that section. This is the About Me section, very simple. Again, a call to action to the YouTube channel for Fiber and Kraft, a couple words about me. I think I will put my profile image into this section. I just didn't get to it yet. So we'll see if we get to that today. And then in the footer, we have to do a little extra in the footer here because last week we styled this footer so things were evenly aligned, but I decided to change the copyright. I put the word copyright back in, and I put my name in and linked back to my personal website, a little cross promotion. So we have to just adjust some of what's going on in the footer here. And then I think it's worth noting that the very, very top banner, I put visit Fiber and Kraft on YouTube, and again with a call to action to the Fiber and Kraft YouTube channel. And we need to fix this link also. And And then we also need to fix our scroll. I think I kind of screwed up our scroll, so we're going to tweak that as well. So there's that. So before I get to what the actual plan is for the rest of today, let's say good morning to a few people in the chat. Ani K is here. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you for being here. No one is here. Welcome, no one. We're happy to have you. Idris is here. Hello. Idris got one of the free memberships last week. I found out that YouTube lets me randomly give out 10 free memberships, channel memberships, every month. So on the first of the month that resets, and I'm pretty excited about that. I can't give them to specific people. It's random. So I think you have to be subscribed, and I think you have to have participated in the chat and maybe be watching, but I'm not entirely sure. But Idris, you were one of the folks who got the free membership. So congratulations. And I hope that you can make it to the first members live, which is next Tuesday, October 28th. We will have lives, members only lives every 2 weeks, every other Tuesday, and they are going to be focused on code reviews. So I'm excited, looking forward to that. Intel 57 is here. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Monique says, good content. The intended audience for this site will be able to follow easily. Thank you. I have to say, I was feeling very pleased with myself at the end of the day yesterday. And this did take the better part of the day, which I was not planning on. I didn't think it was going to take that long. Yeah, so I need to continue. I don't have the content nailed down for the slides yet. So the content for the slides and the descriptions for my top yarns, I'll probably work on those this evening. It's not that much. Compared to what I got done yesterday, I'm feeling very good about the remaining content. So here's what we are going to work on today. We are going to get this slider up and running, and we are going to use GitHub Copilot because I'm completely over feeling guilty about using AI, because I think that if anybody spends any length of time watching me, especially in the live streams, I am doing almost everything from scratch. I'm just using my brain to build this stuff. And we use AI as an enhancement, as a tool, and I need the help with JavaScript. It's just not my strength. Not like, I mean, I would say that accessibility and CSS and HTML, those are clearly my strengths, and I ask for help when I need it, but I often don't need help. JavaScript, I need help. I don't have time to F around. I just want to get the slider built, and I think GitHub Copilot and ChatGPT, I mean, that's clearly the future of development. So we're going to, that's a long explanation. We are using GitHub Copilot today to make this slider. But before we get started, I had a conversation yesterday with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was giving me a bunch of code, which I asked for. But I'm not going to use it. I want to use GitHub Copilot, but I at least want to share this conversation with you around accessibility and sliders, because what's the observation that I made on the Nitpicks website is that they have it auto plays. There's no play or pause button, so you can't stop the slider. And if we're hovering, you can see my mouse here, if we're hovering over the slider or hovering over the header, it doesn't stop the slider. It doesn't pause the slider. It really is kind of an accessibility issue to not be able to pause and play something that is moving. Users need to have the option to pause and play things that are automatically moving. So I flat out asked, I said, is it a best practice to have sliders autoplay? They rarely have play and pause buttons. That's why I ask. So here's the short answer first, then some nuance. No, autoplay isn't considered a best practice anymore, especially without user controls. If you do include it, It should pause on user interaction, hover, focus, scroll, tabbing in. Include a visible play pause control. Respect reduced motion preferences, which that's a media query. Prefers reduced motion is a media query. It's not a substitute for accessibility, but it should be included as accessible. Never loop endlessly at a fast pace. So I'm sorry to say, nitpicks, you're breaking all of these rules. Okay. Why autoplay fell out of favor? Accessibility. Moving content that advances automatically can disorient users, particularly those using screen readers or with vestibular motion sensitivities. WCAG 2.1 Success Criterion 2.2.2 literally says if something moves or updates automatically, you must provide a way to pause, stop, or hide it. User control. Most users scroll past sliders quickly. Research, Nielsen Norman Group, Baymard Institute shows that people ignore or even distrust auto-playing carousels because they can't read fast enough before slides change. Performance. Autoplay often means timers, image preloads, and repainting, all of which can slow the page or drain a battery on mobile. Conversions. A static, well-designed hero with one clear call to action almost always performs better than a rotating banner. A slider can work if it's interactive, user-driven, not if it's acting on its own. Best practice approach today. If you want a modern, accessible slider, default to manual, no autoplay. Add fade transitions for optional polish. Provide play pause only if it does autoplay. Support keyboard navigation, so next, previous, or tab, and honor prefers reduced motion. So in your case, if your design already feels balanced with manual dots, keep it manual. It'll load cleaner, be more accessible, and you can always add autoplay later behind a play button if there's a good reason. And in my opinion, this is all I need to hear to know to not set up a timer and have it autoplay, because it's a wildly large amount of JavaScript for something that isn't even a best practice. So that's all I need to know. Manual sliders are now the default best practice. Autoplay is only acceptable when it's optional, clearly controllable, and respectful of user preferences. And I was like, yeah, that's all I need to know. So the next question I asked is, if my slider only has dots, which are buttons, do I need to have next and previous arrows? And I'll take you through this conversation. If your slider has dots only, that's totally acceptable if each dot is an actual button, which mine are. Each has an accessible label, ARIA label, slide 1, etc. Ours do. The current one is clearly indicated visually active, which again, ours are. And you don't rely on motion or hover to reveal a state. We don't. We have a motion, we have a hover for a state, do I? We can add one. I don't rely on it, but we can add one. This setup already covers both mouse and keyboard users with proper focus states. Screen readers will announce slide to button, not pressed, etc. So from an accessibility and UX standpoint, dots alone are fine. When to add next or previous arrows. Add arrows if any of these apply. You have more than 4 to 5 slides. Dots become tiny, hard to target, and require visual counting. Okay, right here. First of all, they're at the very bottom of the page, and they have 8. They have 8 slides auto-playing. It's a lot. Your slides contain detailed content, not just background images. Arrows give users clearer, predictable navigation. Touch users, mobile tablet, arrows or swipe gestures are more natural than aiming for small dots. You expect keyboard-only users to navigate quickly. Arrows are easier to tab into than multiple dots. If you ever add arrows, they should be simple buttons. So practical rule of thumb, 3 to 5 slides, dots only, clean and fine. More than 5 slides or dense content, add arrows. Touch swipe audience, mobile heavy, arrows or swipe gestures. Accessibility priority, always a good idea. Dots with good focus states are enough. Arrows are optional. So we only have 3 slides. I am not planning on adding more slides. I don't even know what content I'm going to put in the slides. But I personally kind of wanted to have a slider just to close the loop on the fact that it was an authentic homepage clone since I changed so many things. So TLDR, your current setup dots only with labeled buttons and a visible active state is absolutely valid. Arrows just make sense if navigation needs to be faster or the number of slides grows. And then I said I won't have more than 3 slides or dots, and my dot tap target is always going to be 48 by 48, which it's not now. So here's what I'm thinking. ChatGPT is telling me that this is okay. I would prefer to make sure that my dots have a tap target of 48 by 48, which is, it's pretty juicy. That's going to be a juicy tap target. So let's kind of fix the styling of the dots and see how it looks. If we hate it with that big of a tap target, we'll add arrows. If we can make it look decent with just dots, we'll just keep the dots and wire it up as a manual slider. So I don't know. What do people think? I want to hear if you're following along, if you feel like you have a strong opinion on this or you have any opinion at all, tell me what you think. If you don't care, that's cool. If you're just here to chill, no problem whatsoever. But if you have an opinion, I would like to know what you think. Okay, so let me tell you what the response here was. We had a couple more things here. So 3 slides, totally manageable visually and cognitively. 48 by 48 pixel tap target meets the WCAG target size guideline and Google's mobile friendly benchmark. Button elements and ARIA labels accessible by default. That combination is pretty much textbook ideal for a simple hero slider. You've covered the usability, accessibility, and design sides all in one shot. No need for arrows, autoplay, or extra controls unless you decide to expand it later. So yes, your default slider with 3 labeled dots is best practice. Okay, this was the other question that I had. Let's take a look here. I had moved the dots before the slides. I don't remember if I did that last weekend or the weekend before. I said I put my dots markup before the slides in the DOM. Is that good for accessibility? And then I asked about code for a swipe gesture on mobile, which I'm not going to do, but I was just curious about what that code looked like. Okay, so dots before slides, is that acceptable? It's acceptable, but not ideal. Screen readers will hit the dots or the controls before they've encountered any slide content, which can feel a little backwards. Move dots after slides in the DOM. Pros, content is read first, controls second, more natural reading order. Either way is fine. I'd slightly favor option 2 if you're tweaking markup anyway. Don't hack focus order with a positive tab index. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I'm going to move this after the slides, and then let's tweak the styles a little bit and see if we can get a tap target on those dots, and then we don't have to do arrows. So we don't have to do arrows. And so Malik says, I like autoplay, but I see why it is not best to use. Are you set on the idea of the dots? I feel like having arrows might be better, just my opinion. I was also going to suggest the mobile swipe. Yeah. I was kind of into the mobile swipe too, and then I saw the amount of JavaScript and it just felt messy and chaotic to me, and I was like, I just don't want to deal with that. And autoplay for me, now that I know what I know, is a hard pass. So I think the takeaway from ChatGPT is that autoplay is fine as long as you have the controls for users to start and stop, or there's a gesture, some sort of, like if they hover over the slider, it stops. One moment. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, that autoplay is okay as long as people can hover. Like there's some, like they're, if they're hovering over the slider or the header, it pauses and stops so people can read, right? Um so but I don't want to do autoplay. I just don't want to deal with it. All of the reasons that it gave me to not do autoplay, I was like, you had me at not best practice. Literally, you had me at not best practice. So, but so if you do it, Malik, just make sure you have controls. That's the takeaway. That's my takeaway. That it's not wrong. It just has to be accessible. So, let's try and style the buttons and see if we can get them to look decent with the appropriate tap target. I just literally don't want them to look too goofy. That's all I care about. Yeah, as long as they don't look too goofy, we can stick with just dots. But if they look goofy, then we have to add arrows. So let's just try it. So in order to do this right now, this circle slash dot is the button. And I need to be able to put padding on the button and not make the circle itself bigger. I'm going to make the circle a little bit bigger, but it's not going to be 48 by 48. I need to be able to put padding around it, so I have to put something inside this button. So I'm just going to put a div with a class of circle. And it's just going to be empty. And just for the heck of it, we'll say aria hidden true. I think that's all we need to do. I think that's all we need to do. I just need something inside this button to style. So the li has a class of dot, and then we're styling the button. Plus we have some active styles. So I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to say dot. Dot button circle. And the circle is going to have these styles. Yeah. Okay. So then this just needs some padding. So if this is 1 by 1, then we would want padding of 1 rem. So now we have a tap target. We have a tap target of 48 by 48. They're pretty spacey, but let's see if we can play with it a little bit. Let's be real. I am very much going to make this work because we'll just call it laziness. Let's just call it laziness. This is just, I'm ready to wrap it up. I'm ready to be done with this. Yeah. Okay, I need to do a little math here. So if I make these 1.25, then that would mean, how much padding do we need then? So 3 minus 1.25 is 1.75 divided by 2 is 0.875 padding. I mean, listen, I'm okay with this. We have our tap target. It's a little spacey, but it's okay. What do we think? I like it. So let's say, what's a normal laptop size? About 1600 pixels? Yeah, I'm fine with that. Nice and clear. And then let's make sure that there is a hover and a focus. So really, we would just do, oh, whoops, don't. Come on. So this would be dot, this would be dot, and then cursor. We want to make sure this has a cursor. Yeah. I like it. I'm into it. You know what we could also do? We could put the, instead of having the dots on the bottom, we could align them over here on the left. Let's try it. I think we need to try that. I see that all the time. So, because we're absolutely positioning it. So instead of, so this would actually be top 50%. And then this would be transform, translate Y. And then this would be left 1 rem. And then this would be flex flow. This would be column. And we could move this over a little bit too. Whoop. Hang on, guys. I'm gonna go close the window. One moment. And entertainment is here. Good morning. How is it going? It's going really well. How are you doing? Welcome. I'm glad you could join us. What do we think of these dots over on the left? I love them. What's going on in the console? There we go. I think I'm going to go with dots on the left. I've seen this before. I like it. We got a nice big tap target. Let's see what... This is mostly mobile. How would this look? Ooh, so we would need to just let's do a media query for these. Is that going to bump into text though? It's what's happening here? Why is... So it really doesn't like what's happening here on mobile. Why? It's position absolute. Why would it matter? Do these LIs need to be display block? Oh. Okay, I mean, I do have a media query here for them, but why does that matter? So our buttons are... Well, I mean, buttons are display inline block by default. Do they need to be display block? They're fine on mobile, right? No, they're not. Okay, they're fine there. Wait a second. Is it because... Why would that matter if they're position absolute? Top left transform, display... gap. Why are they collapsing? Just because of mobile? Because... Is it because of the aspect ratio? No. See, this is... I mean, I hate this. This is the best part of project-based learning, is things like this happen and you have to sit and figure it out. I'll admit that I'm at a point in my life where I'm getting sick of moments like this, but I recognize that they're good, that they're important. Okay, so if my threshold for problem solving right now is not good. So what happens when this gets just out of character? Yeah, this is... Oh, is it because of that? Yes, it was because of this. Okay, let's try this again. Top. And this would be Y, and then this would be column. Hallelujah. So it was just that media query. But it's really bumping into that text. It's not going to hold up well against that text. So we're going to keep it on the bottom. Listen, it was a fun experiment. And I'm glad that I figured it out. And it's time to just build the slider and move on with my life. So we definitely have... Did we not make this? Did we not change this? Yeah, we did. We made it position sticky. So why is it up? Why is it sticky? Why isn't it popping down? Oh, it is. No, it isn't. It is. But our content is not holding that container open. So many issues. So many issues. Okay, I need a break. I need a break. And Malik says, I would definitely accidentally click one while scrolling. Was that when it was on the side or on the bottom? It's definitely going to be better. The other thing is we need to put something behind this text for the heroes, because this is also not accessible. So we have to put something behind this. Yeah. So it's going to be better to keep it. So we are going to sticky. See this text. This should be holding this container. Oh, it's position absolute. That's why it's not. Yeah, so we are going to have to change the aspect ratio. Once we get down to about here, we're just going to have to adjust the aspect ratio to make sure everything fits. That is fine. That is not my preferred method of handling this, but I do need it to be like this, because we need these LIs to be, well, we need the LIs to be position absolute. The figures have an aspect ratio. And then this, I wonder if we can change the order of that, because if the LI had an aspect ratio, And then the figure was just width 100%, height 100%. And then this wouldn't need to be position absolute. And that would hold the slide open. That's what, but this does need to continue to be position absolute. So, okay, let's just get the slider working. And then we'll literally, after getting the slider working, the only thing I wanted to do today was QA. That's it. That's all I want to do, is I just want to refine the styles. Oh, and it's worth letting you all know what I have planned for tomorrow, which is tomorrow we're going to do a start to finish deployment. I have nailed down my process for setting up a LAMP stack. LAMP is Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP on a DigitalOcean droplet. How I set up the redirects, how I handle DNS, how I do rsync, everything. The full kit and caboodle. I figured out a way to do it where I'm not worried about exposing anything sensitive. There's, IP addresses, especially at DigitalOcean, anytime there's a new droplet and a new IP address, they're not secret, they're not private. Anybody can find an IP address, and those IP addresses already get hit by bots. So there's a chance that somebody watching the stream would see the IP address and be an asshole and hit that IP address with the bot. But we can also put up a firewall, and I only need to log in using the IP address a couple of times until we get the DNS set up. Bottom line, I'm gonna chance it. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do the full deployment DevOps setup tomorrow. That's what I have planned for tomorrow. So that's why today I want to get as much of this CSS done as possible, which we're already 52 minutes in. So I got to get cracking. I got to get moving here. So, and no one says, I'm currently reading Don't Make Me Think, and I'm on chapter 6. I have a lot to say about this book. I'll share my full review next week after finishing it. I love that. I love that. Oh, and Malik says it was for the side dots. Yes. Okay. So, yeah, I can't wait for your review. Let me know if you want to send me like an email offline, or let me know offline if you want to chat a little more in depth with your review. And I would be happy to hear what you think. I'm pumped that you're reading that book and that you're enjoying it. So, one moment. Okay, let's get started. Let's just get this slider working. Let's stop messing around. Okay, so we have our markup and styles for the most part are working fine. So let's also let's just do like a tiny bit of refactoring also before we let GitHub Copilot mess around with our stuff. So let's just tidy up our JavaScript a little tiny bit. Function copyright. We'll do function menu toggle. And let's make sure that this is looking to make sure that that button even exists first. So if the button is there, go ahead and do this. And then we'll do function escape. escape toggle. And let's add an if here as well. If open. Just check and make sure that button exists. And then here's our observer. I'm going to make all those variables global so we can reuse them if we want to. Function, what is this? On scroll. So we have copyright, menu toggle, escape key toggle, and then on scroll. And let's make sure we didn't break anything. Oh, we broke something. Oh, all right, that works. This still works. Yep. And we can still escape. Perfect. Okay. All right, GitHub Copilot. You're up, buddy. Build with agent mode. AI responses may be inaccurate. Wonderful. Generate agent instructions to onboard AI onto your code base. I don't know what that means. How do I want to add a page? Index.html. So we'll do this right here. Function slider. And then I'm going to put a note here. I'm going to say, need a slider function. Okay, need a slider function to handle image or content sliders on the page. This function will be implemented in the future to allow for dynamic content display and user interaction with sliders. It will likely involve event listeners for navigation, buttons, and logic to okay. Need a slider that works with the given HTML and dots for navigation. The slider should automatically transition between slides every 5 seconds. Nope, that's a hard pass. The slider should not automatically transition, but should allow users to click on the dots to navigate between slides. Each dot should correspond to a specific slide, and the active dot should be visibly distinct from the inactive dots. Okay, part of this. And the active dot should be given an active class to indicate which slide is currently being displayed. The slider should also have a smooth transition effect when navigating between slides. Okay. Hang on. The slider CSS is already set up to show one slide at a time, and the dots are styled to indicate which slide is currently active. The JavaScript will need to handle the click events on the dots, update the active slide, and toggle the active class on the dots accordingly. Okay, yes. What else? Let's add a variable. Slides. Okay, is that right? So the UL is hero slides, the LI is slides. Slides, hang on, hero slides. You didn't get why I gave you the index.html for context. No. And then const slide. Const dots, query selector all. Slide dots. Oops. No. Oh, maybe. Slide dots button. Yeah. No. Slide dots for the array. No. No, stop. And then dot. Query selector dot. This is dot button. So we've got slides, slide, dots, dot. No, stop. Slide dots, dot. And then the active goes on, the active actually goes on the LI. So maybe we need another one for dot button. Okay. And then the active class for the dots is dot dot. No, just feels like a wrestling match. No, stop. The active class for the dots is dot dot, which is the LI right here. Okay. I'm literally just hitting tab to here. Dot button for each button, add event listener, click, slides for each slide, dots for each, is that it? Honestly, it's not complicated. It's very similar to the filter categories. So now we just need to, yeah. Yes, good question from Illusion. Could you use Bootstrap or do you prefer only CSS methodology styling? I do. So I have nothing against frameworks, Bootstrap, Foundation, Tailwind. The whole point of this is to understand the styling in the CSS. And it's just how I prefer to work on my own personal projects. I enjoy the challenge and understanding how to do this. So, okay, so we need to give it some more context here. Well, wait a second though. Did it add the styles and maybe I just didn't, and I just need to do the CSS now? So let's take a closer look here. So here's our dots and here is our slides. No, so there's an error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading class list. Please finish the JavaScript for the slider using the comments as requirements for the functionality. Oh, do I have to? Okay, hang on. Oh, it changed my markup. Gosh darn it. Why did it do that? That's so annoying. So there we go. There's our active. There's our active. Nice. That's all I needed to do. I can do everything else. That's it. We just match it up and add active classes, and then the CSS does all the work. This is literally all I cared about. So what did we... Okay, you saw me put in the correct markup and it changed it, right? I don't like that. But beggars can't be choosers. Okay, so we have a slider function, and then we have a function called update active states. So we for each through the slides, we for each through the dots, and we remove the active class if there is one, and then for each through the buttons, set an attribute aria pressed. Hang on, I didn't see that. I want to see that. So if it's active, it's aria pressed to true. Perfect. Add active classes and update aria pressed state. So whichever is the slide or the button that's being pressed, the corresponding slide and dot based on the index gets an active and aria pressed true. Add a click event listener to the dot buttons. And then we run the function based on the click event. Initialize the first slide as the dot active. I actually understand all of this. I kind of wish I had been able to write it myself, but I would have severe performance anxiety doing this in a live stream. So simple, Extremely happy with this. So now let's just do our CSS. Let's just do our CSS. So we're going to take, so we want li slide dot active. I'm going to close this. So by default, these would be whoops, opacity 0, pointer events none, but the active class would be opacity 1, pointer events, what's the default? All. Is that the right keyword? Huh. That's it. This is all I wanted. This is all I wanted my slider to do. I wanted it to be manual, super simple. I didn't want it to be so it was auto running. This is perfect. This is perfect. So I think we need to make sure that we've got some more accessibility things working here. So let's tab through. So that's a fresh refresh of the page. Let's tab through to make sure. So we're hitting that top banner first. We go through each of the navigation items. There's our icon. There's the call to action for the slide that's visible. And then, so there's 2 clicks before it gets down to the buttons, which means that it's going through all of the content and all of the buttons before it's getting to the dots. So I wonder if that's okay. I wonder if that's okay. Let's ask. Let's ask some more questions here. Oh, and New York Code is here. New York Code, a long time IAM comeback. Well, welcome. Thank you. Happy to have you here. Happy to see you. All right, so let's ask a couple more questions here. When I use the keyboard to tab through each CTA button in each slide is getting focused, not just the visible slide. Should I make the hidden slide button or link hidden so it doesn't get focus until the actual slide is visible? Let's see what he says. Okay, so you should keep non-visible slides out of the tab order. The clean way is to mark every non-active slide as inert and aria hidden true for the accessibility tree. That removes all links and buttons inside from focus without you micromanaging each call to action. Here's a drop-in pattern you can bolt onto your slider code. No, I'm not doing any of this. So it thinks that I'm using the code that it gave me, which I didn't. So, okay, why this is the right move. Inner removes the whole subtree from the tab order and from the screen reader tree, so users only reach controls in the visible slide. Aria hidden true mirrors that intent for assistive text. For assistive tech, you avoid brittle per element tab index -1 hacks. This is true. I do not want to use tab index. Focus gets rehomed to something visible, so you do not strand keyboard users on an unfocusable element. Notes, inert is widely supported now. If you must support very old browsers, you can add a tiny polyfill, but most modern users are covered. If you ever switch from fade to translate, keep this same pattern. So we can add aria hidden true and inert ourselves. Inert. Wait, how do you... So is inert, I think inert is just an attribute, right? So we would want to do this. So are we doing aria hidden? Wait a second. Aria hidden true on the entire slide, right? And aria hidden true and inert on the entire slide. So we're actually doing set attribute aria hidden true. I think we would do yep, perfect. And then I think we also want to do slides for each. Slide. Stop. Can't we just do inert? But there's no true. Does there have to be another value? Does that work just like that? How do you remove an attribute? think you do this. How do you remove it? Inert false. Okay, what happened to this? Oh, wait. That's not what I wanted. Slides. Yeah. Stop. Let's see if that works. Oops. Oh, I think it's because, well, we don't have any CSS yet. Oh, they all say already hidden true. Wait a second. Okay, so that's working. I didn't see inert though in here. Where is it? Isn't it supposed to be an attribute that shows up? So, okay, so we're gonna ask for help. Add inert attribute to all slides to prevent interaction when not active. Oh, it is a true false value. I thought it was just inert or not inert. Remove inert attribute. Oh, it is remove attribute. Okay. All right. I'm getting there. Okay, so the real test is going to be, can we tab through without going through every single slide? That worked. Nice. Hallelujah. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. This is super simple in my opinion. This works perfectly well. I'll add this here. I love it. I thought inert didn't have a true false value or didn't have a value. I thought it was either inert or like it existed or it didn't exist. This, in hindsight, seems obvious. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. I don't like how much control. I don't like that I try to fill in I try to fill some things in ahead of time because I feel like I'm being helpful and it just changes everything. So I don't like that. But we are done here and I'm going to turn this off because I don't like having it on. It bothers me. So I am happy with this. And really all this is no different than the filters that we build, where you have a button associated, you have a button associated with a piece of content and you click the button to show that particular piece of content. So this is no different than the filtering that we've done. We just have to add those extra attributes because the content that is not being displayed, we don't want that to be accessible by the keyboard. So we have to add the extra attributes. But to me, this is a very reasonable amount of markup. So let's do this. Let's do this. Just want to take... So let's just get some feedback on how our markup looks. I am not going to implement swipe gestures, and I used GitHub Copilot for the JavaScript. How does the markup look accessibility wise? Okay, here's a breakdown of what's good and what could be fine-tuned. Semantic structure, your layout is logical. That's a valid, predictable order for screen readers. The hero is inside main and your dots follow the slides visually and in DOM order. That's the right call. Proper use of ARIA hidden and inert. This is exactly what you want. Inert ensures the hidden slides, links, and buttons aren't focusable. ARIA hidden keeps them out of the accessibility tree so screen readers don't read multiple calls to action. As long as your JavaScript keeps these synced when the slides change, you're golden. Dot buttons with ARIA. That's correct and accessible. The button element is keyboard focusable. ARIA label slide 1, clear context. ARIA pressed reflects the current state. You could optionally use the tab pattern roll tab list or roll tab if you want to lean into WCAG carousel semantics, but ARIA pressed is fine for a simple hero banner. Alt text. Perfect alt text. It describes the image without being redundant or decorative fluff. I actually need to improve that. Optional improvements. Add an ARIA label for the group of dots. Right now, the list is just class slide dots. Role group, ARIA label, select hero slide. Or role tab list, ARIA label, hero slides. Either tells the assistive text what that control is set for. All right, we can go with this. So this is for that. Keep the heading hierarchy consistent. Your hero uses an H2. This is the heading H2. If that's the first main heading on the page, bump it to H1. If there's already an H1, then leave it. Okay, yeah, we're good with that. Consider adding a live region if slides change automatically. You said they don't. Since yours are manual, you don't need it, but if you ever reintroduce autoplay, okay. Keyboard focus styling. Make sure your button, the call to action inside each slide, and the dot buttons have visible focus outlines. Nope, we're done with that. We did all that. Okay, so it's pointing something out that it doesn't see, but we're good there. We're covered there. Okay, so we added that, the role group. So we added a role tab list, ARIA label, hero slides. So okay, let's see what's happening. So Malik says, how do you feel about light mode versus dark mode? I love dark mode because I use my computer a lot more at night and the power of the bright white usually scorches my eyes. Yeah, so I personally don't use dark mode on my desktop computer, like on my desktop. But here's when I love dark mode: when I'm driving at night, or when I go through, so we have this tunnel in Minneapolis. It's called the Lowry Hill Tunnel. And it's me, I don't know how long it is, a quarter of a mile maybe. It seems long, maybe it's not that long. Every time I go through the Lowry Hill Tunnel, my phone switches from light mode to dark mode, or anytime I'm driving at night, my phone switches to dark mode, like when I'm using Google Maps. I love that because that is very easy on my eyes. I do like light mode and dark mode. I never use it on my desktop, so I forget it exists. And then I watch YouTube channels where somebody's sharing their screen and they're in dark mode, and I'm like, really? People do that? So I have nothing against it. I just forget it exists, and I personally rarely use it. So, but I will say that I have like this list of ideas. And one of the things on the list is to implement a button to enable light mode or dark mode on a website. So we will do that. We are going to cover that as a project. It's on my list of things to do. Maybe I'll start using it more once I implement it. So Rizzy G is here. This week I've been focusing on all CSS, and I've developed a way of doing things. Imagine I'm making a testimonial section with cards. First, I build atoms, button, heading, paragraphs. Then I put them together in containers. Then I focus on building the card, moving from inside out. So that's like the box model. I treat each piece differently and combine redundant styles later while refactoring. Everybody handles responsiveness separately until I refactor and make my code dry. Since your experience, what could be some pitfalls of my approach? I hesitate to point out any pitfalls because I think here's the thing. I want you to develop a rhythm and a system that works for you. I don't see any pitfalls in your approach. I see somebody who is working hard to understand a method and a system that works for them. And that's the most important thing. What works for me, listen, I'm 12 years into this and I'm still developing a system that works for me. I'm still project after project learning from the last project and what did or didn't work. It's something that you should be doing with every new project, finding a new way to handle things and a new way, a new system that works for you. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, and it wouldn't even enter my mind to be critical or point out anything in your approach that would or wouldn't work, because if it's working for you, I want you to keep doing it. Everything you said sounds logical, but the if I really zoom out, Rizzy, and look at what you're saying, here's what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing you say is that I am working on a system. I am trying to get better at understanding. I'm trying to come up with a logical way of refactoring and come up with a logical system for how I approach things. So what those steps actually are, I don't even think it matters. What I think is most important is that you're even putting yourself through this exercise. So that's always going to be my answer. And also, congratulations. How good do you feel sitting down and figuring some of this stuff out? Because you have told me in the past that you struggle a lot with CSS, that you're very comfortable with JavaScript, but you struggle with CSS. So well done, my friend, that you're working on this and coming up with a system. And I personally don't see flaws in the fact that you're coming up with a system. That's a good thing. So I hope that that's an acceptable answer. I hope that that's an acceptable answer. So Malik says, sounds logical to me. I love going container to the contents inside. I like having the overall structure done first. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a fine-tuning type of person myself. I like to dial in like the basic building blocks, and then I go in and I go in and fine tune as I'm working. I don't specifically go inside out or outside in. I think what's most important is that you understand the box model and that you understand that padding is on the inside, margins on the outside, and the appropriate times to use one over the other, if that makes sense. So, and congratulations. Well done. Well done. Okay. We're done with the slider. We're done with the slider. Can we just work on some CSS? Can we just fine tune our styles? Because tomorrow is a big day. Tomorrow is going to be all deployment all day. It's going to be fun. I hope it's fun. Basically, I think I've spent 3 solid days this week working on, I want to show it to you. Let me just show it to you. Let me show you all the steps we're going to go through tomorrow. And if you are interested in looking at this repository, this might change in the future. I'll put a link in the chat. I have a couple steps that I need to fine tune here, but these are all of the steps, and we're going to follow these instructions on setting up a LAMP stack. So I'm going to log into DigitalOcean. We're going to deploy, it's called a one-click LAMP stack deployment droplet. So I'll take you through all those steps. I'm going to log into Hover, which is where I register my domain names, and I'll show you how I update the DNS settings. And then we're going to go through all of these steps. We're going to create a pseudo user. We're going to lock down and make a copy of the SSH keys, which I already have added to my DigitalOcean account, so I'm not exposing anything. We're going to disable root login and disable password authentication. I have to update this because we'll actually, once the DNS settings update, we will log in using the domain name, so we don't need to keep logging in with the IP address. I'm going to show you how I rsync from my local environment to the remote environment. We're going to update this. We're going to put the pseudo user, we're going to include the pseudo user as part of the www data group and owner. And I'll explain more about this tomorrow. So you don't have to change your permissions for the HTML directory every time you do an rsync and then change them back. We'll do a cold DNS thing. I have to update this tonight. This is not my final draft. And then we're going to install Let's Encrypt. That's so we get the HTTPS and we make sure that domain is encrypted. We're going to have to go through like a whole thing where we edit the port 80 and the port 443 virtual hosts and add some redirects and rewrites, because once you deploy something, you have 4 domain names. These are the domain names you have. You have the HTTP version and the HTTPS version. You also have a www version and a non-www version. So you need to decide which of these you want your domain to point to. Now, I personally always do non-www, but you have to support it as a redirect, and you have to make sure that your HTTP is always redirecting to your HTTPS. So we're going to be editing the virtual host files for port 443 and port 80. And that can get like a little complicated, but it's doable. We can do it. And then we're going to be reloading Apache, doing some rewrites, testing. And then I have tons of links here, different helpful links that I've just collected over the years to learn more about rsync, pseudo users, setting up a LAMP stack, really excellent tutorials from DigitalOcean. Here's the thing, they have great tutorials at DigitalOcean, but I don't feel like there's one tutorial that's going to walk you through every single thing that I'm going to walk through tomorrow. So that will be something to look forward to. And then I can test my instructions tomorrow in the stream And what I would like to do is record a separate DevOps video that's a little tighter, more focused and edited, walking through these steps, just as like a standalone video on the channel. So hopefully you guys can tune in for that tomorrow. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to deploy this website on fiberandcraft.com, the domain name. So it won't just be on a GitHub page, it'll be on an actual domain tomorrow. And then we close the loop on this project. And no one says, I think what matters is finishing the project no matter how. I totally agree. Listen, done is the enemy. Wait, perfect is, what's the saying? Perfect is the enemy of done. I think that's the saying. Done is the enemy of perfect. No, perfect is the enemy of done, meaning it's not going to be perfect. Get over the fact. Perfection is not real. Just get it done, get it deployed. Keep track of your issues. You should always be working and making improvements on your websites and your apps no matter what. So don't worry about the deployment. Get it live. Just get it live. So, because it will feel so good. And Rizzy says, I've also noticed that it's easy enough to manage small to medium projects, but gets messy on large projects. So I put all the type and spacing into utility classes, put colors into vars. That's a good strategy. That is a very good strategy. And I'm also learning the hard way to get a little bit better with some of my global variables. But that's just so you know, that's a tough thing to manage for everybody. That's going to be a work in progress for the rest of your career. You're going to find new ways to manage stuff like that. So it's like I build the piece, then I think about placing it. I think that's a good way of describing it. I think that's a good way of describing it. So, good. I'm glad it looks interesting. It's complex, but I think it is such an important thing for front-end developers to know how to do. I want more front-end developers to really understand deployment and being able to manage even a simple server, understanding DNS, understanding a little bit of Apache, virtual host, being able to deploy things. Because what is the point of any of the work that you do if it's not you can't look at it, it's not deployed and usable? Yeah, progress, not perfection. Progress, not perfection. I also left many portfolios unfinished because I was chasing perfection. So I think though, no one that based on some of your other comments, I think you're starting to come around though. Am I right? I think you are. So, okay, let's blast away here on some styles. So we're gonna go a little over 2 hours today because I really just want to dial in some of these styles. So mods, if you have to drop off, I understand. But we're gonna dial in some of these styles here today. So we're gonna go top to bottom. Let's fix this link. I think this is just our top banner link. Banner. I think we just need to say, probably, text decoration transparent. Well, no, we want it to be this by default, and we want it to be transparent on hover. There we go. Perfect. The other thing that I think we need to do is our navigation is a little off kilter. That's because we are using display flex and we have a width on this, which is 200, which means we need to have a width on this container as well. So for this, and then we're going to have to say for this, justify content instead of center, we'll want to say flex end. There, now this is nice and centered, and then we'll make sure that we have, I'm pretty sure we have a max width on this. Yeah, so we'll put a max width on that as well. So let's find our social. Social navs. So this is just social. Width 200 pixels, max width 100%, and then our main social, which technically it's getting its styles up here, but we just have to change the justify content. To flex end. There. And we need to fix that too. Yeah. It's making things a little squishy there, isn't it? I just feel so put out today by any issues that I'm having. I just feel put out. Should we just change the gap in the navigation? What's the easiest way to, what's the least amount of work for me? What's the least amount of work for me? That's what I would like to know. Is that too close together? Can we fudge this a little bit? Yeah, 1.5. We can do 1.5. Okay, and then what's happening with this button? Oh. So I think as soon as this goes into mobile, we have to take the width off of this, obviously. One moment. Sorry guys, I have allergies. So I have to, I have a runny nose. Okay. All right, no problem. We can, so then we're just going to want to make sure that we have this in a media query. Well, I think we're probably going to want to say none, right? And, oh, auto. All right, that works. Okay, now the part that I don't really want to deal with, but I have to. So we need to make sure, although that's pretty small. Although we need to make sure, we just need to change, I'm just going to change the aspect ratio for mobile. So maybe once we get down to like 400, although we're overlapping our buttons. What's easiest for me? That's all I care about right now. So we just want to make sure that our buttons aren't overlapping anything. So where is this? This is about 450-ish, 455. Let's just say 500. So let's just say at 500, so we changed the aspect ratio at 960. We just need to change it again at 500. That is fine. So what do we want to change this to? Or we could just give it a bigger aspect ratio period at 960 and not maybe we could move this up a little. If we just move that up like 10% on mobile and then increase that, holds up pretty well. Not really. 300. So our dots are not overlapping the button. Should we just do a square? Let's just do a square. That gives us plenty of room. And then we just, let's do a square as the aspect ratio. And then this, what if we just left that at 40%? That moves it up anyways, which I kind of like. A little bit of overlap there. We'll do a media query. We'll do a media query. And I'm also going to change. So at 960, let's do this first. Hero text wrap, one thing at a time. I'm good with this. And we're not changing this for mobile. So this is going to be top 40%. And then we're going to do another media query for this at, should we just try 600? Let's see how 600 looks. just make it a square. So far, so good. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. We love. Beautiful. Nothing's overlapping. We can still access everything here. So that's the other thing, is the scroll now for the banner is good for mobile, but I kind of screwed it up last week for desktop. So for that, it looks good because we changed the line height. When did we change the line height? So that line height changed at 960. You could see it there. Which means that we need to adjust that scroll. So, oof, we're so close. Okay, so here's what we need to fix. So this was 35 originally for desktop, but we need to put this in a media query. Don't need this. 28. There we go. And I think we just made this a static height. I have less text in there now, so we could probably change that media query. What do we think? 350? Let's do it. Oops. It's a little fussy. There we go. There we go. And there we go. Beautiful. God dang it. I love it. I freaking love it. I'm so happy with this. We have plenty of room in between. Yeah, it looks great. Whoops. Okay. So now let's take out some of the things that we know we don't need. Like, let's take out these links. Okay, we're done with our slides. We're going to be doing this next. So let's go through and like clean up some of our markup that we know we don't need. And then we're gonna tighten up that scroll position. So let's just remove some of these. And I'm going to take out this, the shop category. We don't need this. We can add it later if we need to. And then let's take, well, is there anything else we need to remove? I'm going to leave these buttons for now because I haven't decided yet if I'm going to link to anything. I don't think there's any other markup I need to take out. So we put text align center on this container and I want everything justified to the left. So I'm just going to take that off. Let's see if we can find it. Right here. The other thing that we did, well, okay, we need a wrap for this. So this needs to be in a wrapper. Or what's the least amount of work for me? What's the least amount of work for me? Because the wrap is around the cards. The least amount of work for me is that we put text align center back and we just do text align left here. No muss, no fuss. So we'll leave these centered. That's fine. Those can be centered. That has margin. That doesn't really have margin. That has margin. I think that's fine. We're going to fine tune some of this space. So do we feel like maybe this H2 needs some fine tuning? This has one rem on the bottom. The one below it. Yeah, that does look a little better. And then let's do this. Let's put a max width of what, 80 is it 80 characters for accessibility? So we'll say card section, secondary heading, plus a paragraph. So if a paragraph exists, it would be the description. We'll say max width 80 CH. Oh, and we also have to say margin 0. And we could make it, doesn't have to be, we can make it less. There we go. Oh, and it is going to need some margin on the left and right. Well, really just padding. We'll just give it padding on the left and right. There we go. Beautiful. All right, this section done. I think this section is pretty well done as well. I'll finish the content this evening. I'm good with this section. I'm good with this section. Let's get this. We need to just reposition these images a little bit. So this is the grid item in the portrait section. So here, it's the portrait grid item image that we're going to just tweak because the positioning right now is object fit cover. We're going to add object fit position. I'll show you here. We're going to add a couple of things, but we're going to add object position. So it's XY. So we're going to say center. That stays the same. It's center by default. And then I'm going to say, I think I decided 20% or 30%. Just moves it up a little there, right there. Just moves this down 30%. And then we're going to put a border around the figure. So object position center 30%, and a percentage works better than a pixel value. Don't ask me why. I tested it and it just works better. It's way more flexible. And then on the figure, we're also going to put a border of 2 pixels solid, and I want to use this gray color. There, what do we think? I love it. I love it. So this section is done. This is all we needed. How adorable is this? I'm feeling pretty good about myself that I thought of this. And these are really fun people on Instagram to follow if you're into this type of thing. So let me tell you, Fiber Instagram, not all, but most of the people on Fiber Instagram, knitting, crocheting, spinning, dyeing, are just so delightful to follow. Some get a little weird. Most I really, really enjoy, and it is my happy place when I just want to not see stressful BS on social media, and I just want to see color and pretty things. Highly, highly recommend. So, okay, now this section. So first, let's make this a square. So this is the class testimonial, and this is the image. We're just going to change the aspect ratio of the figure. And we don't really have any styles, I don't think. We just sort of let it be natural. So testimonial figure. We'll say width 100%. You have to have a width and a height. I think you have to have a height of auto. ChatGPT keeps telling me you don't, but I need to. It doesn't work without it for me. So width 100%, height auto, aspect ratio 1. And then testimonial image. Width 100%, height 100%, and then object fit cover. So that should be a nice square now. Beautiful. I also added to the testimonial right here. I added an H2, which we didn't have before, which means that we can change this from a div to a section. It can't be a section if it doesn't have a heading. So we can update that now. Kind of want to take out the quotes. I just don't feel like I need them. So I'm going to take them out. And then I had styling here for them. I'm going to remove that. Oh, and I already had this. We don't need this twice. And then for our stars, let's make them gold. Or let's try yellow. It's just an accent color. It doesn't require any user interaction. So we can make these a color. Definitely yellow. All right. And then I'm going to move these stars up and put them underneath the heading. And then does the citation need to be inside of a block quote? I don't know. Does a cite element belong inside block quote element, or can it be on its own? Okay, short answer, a cite element can appear inside a block quote or on its own. Both are valid. It depends on what you're doing. Block quote, used for quoted content, typically a longer external quote. And I copied this block quote content from the pattern description where I linked to. So this is indeed a quote. This is something that Summerlee wrote on her Ravelry page. The cite identifies who or what the quotation is from. Okay. Cite on its own represents the title of a work or the source of a quote reference. It doesn't have to live inside. Okay, so that's all I need to know. So I'm going to put it inside the block quote, just like that. Many people think cite must be the author name. Technically, it's meant for the title, but the HTML spec and assistive tech now accept author names too. So both cite and cite are fine. Best practice inside a block quote, good place to credit the quoted source. On its own, okay. That's all I need to know. So this is formatting wise, this is all I need to do. We need to add some margin. We just need to add some margin to these items. Or everything's inside the block quote. Let's look at our styles for the block quote. Because what is easiest for me? That's all I care about. Testimonial. Lock. Did I give it a class? I didn't give it a class. Stars. Okay. I think all we need to do. Really, I didn't give block quotes. I must have. Did I up here? Yes. Let's do this. Block quote. Any paragraphs inside a block quote should have some margin on the bottom. And I bet that's going to fix it. And And then let's okay. And then here's our stars. Let's just give this stars container some margin to push it down. There. There. And then this links right to the pattern, and this is a free pattern. So I love this. Let's see how this looks on mobile. We're just about done here. This is going very, oop. That is kind of busting out of its container. Oh, I don't think we wrote any responsive styles here. So let's just pop in a media query. Where are we here? How did, I used grid. I mean, why is that the only thing moving? Like, this is not flexible at all. Oh. Well, no. It's because of, probably because of the aspect ratio. Okay, we're gonna write a media query. So 1300. All right, it's not the end of the world. So we're gonna write a media query for this. Oh, so we already have it for 960. We just need to do it early, that's all. That's a big image. Do we want to adjust this aspect ratio? Yeah, I'm gonna adjust the aspect ratio too. So what would that be? 8, 6, 4, 4 to 3? Yeah, I could probably in the future come up with a better solution for this, but I'm totally happy with this. I'm completely happy with this. So Yeah, this is what it looks like on nitpicks. I mean, I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that maybe we did it slightly better. Maybe we did it a little better. I don't know. Just saying. Okay, this is done right here. This is all good right here. Our little Instagram grid stacks really nicely. For this right here, for this text in the About Me, I did originally put a line break, which there's nothing wrong with, but once you get down to mobile sometimes, it just doesn't look good. So let's put a max width. Let's put a max width on that, just like we did. What did we do? Max width 60 characters. So this would be about us. And we clamped that margin. So if we put a max width here of 60 characters, we have to make sure that we also have auto in here. Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, next we're just going to touch up the footer a little bit, and after the footer, the last thing that we have to do is we're just going to fine tune those scroll points. And we are done, and we can just be all deployment tomorrow. And then I will update the content. I will finish updating the slider content tonight. The only thing that we might do tomorrow morning before deployment is style a container for the image, because this is not accessible to have this text over top of these images. So we're just going to style a container, and then we may have to slightly tweak the mobile styles for the slider, but we're in a very, very good position right now with the mobile, the slider styles on mobile. That doesn't scare me. I'm not bothered by that. And then we can just jump right into deployment. So we might do a tiny little bit of CSS in the morning. Okay, so here's what we did last week on the footer. We have 3 things in the footer. I think we just said for the paragraphs, we gave these a width. And then for the paragraph last of type, I did text align. So I think we can just change the width. So if there was no width, how wide is it? 251.7. What's a slightly more flexible way to deal with this? I had an idea. So instead of doing this for both paragraphs, what if we just did on the last one, min width 251.7 pixels and text align right? Why does it still have kilter? But these should be, that should be centered. Oh, it's because, hang on, did I screw something up here with this? Yes. It's because I gave this a width of 200. Okay, so that's cool. I think we can. So this worked. And I think we just have to say footer, social, with auto. And max width, I guess just none. $251.7. 251.7. Why is this still? Does it seem a little off? So it's row, justify content space between, center, no gap. I mean, technically, it's centered. It looks a tiny bit off though, doesn't it? Maybe I just can't worry about it. Let's see how this looks. This needs a little bit of padding. Yeah, this looks fine. We're good. Let's fine tune. Let's fine tune our this. So we need to reduce the padding. Where are we here? This right here. So we need to add our anchor points. And we need to reduce our padding. And that's the last thing. So let's collapse some of these. And then we will get this pushed up to mobile. Oh, and we actually need to take these IDs off. Whoops. Oh, I don't think I had something for that, for the Instagram, just the About Us. All right, and now our anchor points. Where do we put that? Whoop. Well, I put top -5 rems. I'm going to change that to 4, and then what we need to do is adjust now the padding, because we added tons of padding. We originally had it at 4 rem, 2 on the top and bottom, and then I changed it to 4. So let's get down. So let's change it back to 2. This was okay. Change this back to 2. Change this back to 2. This was already 2. And this was 2. All right, let's see how this works. Give it a nice clean refresh. What do we think? I feel like top yarns, this is such a nitpicky thing. I feel like top yarns, there's just a wee bit extra space there. Otherwise, these are all lining up perfectly. But maybe not. That might be consistent. And then this is never going to pull all the way up. That's fine. This literally just gets you to the bottom of the page. And then we can go back to top. We'll go back here. Okay. Let's see what's happening now on mobile. Let's make sure this works. So we'll go back to top. That is like flawless. Oh my gosh. We just need to, this needs a little bit of padding right there, that title. And this does scroll to the About Me section on mobile, so that's perfect. Okay, let's adjust this a little bit. These styles a little bit. Oh yeah, so this has, we need to adjust this H2 for the links, and that's going to look a lot better. Wow. Yeah. And then I think this also is just going to need a 1 rem of padding on the left and right so it doesn't hug that edge. Yeah, look at that. Okay, so I think that, I bet if there's too much space, I bet it's because there's margin. How much you want to bet? No, that's okay. That one's okay. Yep, that one's okay. Okay, so we'll adjust this margin. So this is the testimonial secondary heading. There, that already looks better. We'll have to confirm that that still looks okay on desktop. I freaking love it. Yeah, this looks just fine. I feel like we should align, these are aligned like start. Let's make sure that these are align items center. Yeah. So let's just add align items center to the testimonial wrap. Beautiful. We did it. We did it. I just freaking love it. I'm so glad I decided to do this. I hope that people got as much out of this as I did. I hope that people, what I wanted is to show people, like, if you are short on ideas, you don't have money to go out and buy like Photoshop mockups, it's okay to clone another site, and if you want to clone it like pixel by pixel, the exact everything the same and exact, you can. I didn't want to copy their branding and colors and logos. I didn't want to do that. I think, but although if you're doing it as a private project, you could, I guess, if you wanted to. But I'm so glad I took on this challenge for my side project. I don't know. I love it. I think it looks great. So tonight I'm going to update the content for the sliders. We're going to quickly style a container so we don't have text over top of the images tomorrow. Otherwise, the styles are done. The styles are done. I'm good with these styles. I am good with these styles, and we can deploy tomorrow. Yeah, it just looks great. Let's do this one more time. Love it. What do we think? Thank you so much to everybody. Oh, and Malik said that he agreed. Thank you for, I don't know what you were agreeing with, but thank you for agreeing with me. I appreciate it. Thanks for sticking with me today, guys. I really appreciate it. If you are here and you haven't liked the video yet, please go ahead and like the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday for the most part, just practicing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to the best of my ability. We have fun. We have fun on this channel. We just like to practice front end and get better at our vanilla front end skills. We have nothing against a good framework or a good library or using AI to help us. We just like to practice. So come back tomorrow. Thank you, Malik. Yes, I agree. Everything turned out great. Come back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to walk you through how I set up a LAMP stack, Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP. I'm going to show you how I configure DNS settings, how I rsync from my local to a remote environment, basically how I like to just deploy a good old-fashioned static HTML website. So come back tomorrow, we'll go ahead and take care of that, and then we're actually going to deploy this on the domain name fiberandcraft.com, which I'm pretty excited about. So with that being said, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. I will see you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.